Today we got a good guest today. Get your highlighters, get your pens ready. Hey, thank you to Los Angeles Tribune for giving me the platform just to put out my positivity and be who I am. Thank you for Riverside for allowing me to place this on their platform. And thank you to all my sponsors. Thank you to everybody who believe in me, and I appreciate it. Hey, motivators, let's mount up. We got a huge guest today from the Living Lab, Miss Sarah. Welcome, Sarah. How you doing?
Good morning. First and foremost, happy birthday.
Well, it's my father's birthday and it was yesterday. Yes.
Oh,
So thank
my
you. Appreciate it.
apologies. Of
No, it's
course.
all good. It's all good. My birthday's in July. I'm a Cancer baby. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
because I'm a Cancer too. So see, that works.
Look at you. So we could talk about that. I was born July 18th.
Oh, okay. See, I'm June 26th.
June 26th. Okay. So we Cancer
Yeah.
baby. So we can relate a little bit like that. So appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on my podcast on Motivators Table. And right now we just went live on YouTube and we just went live on LinkedIn. So if you want to go grab that link and place it on your Facebook, I give you a chance to do that real quick. You did that already? Yeah. I can't hear you.
Me, yes.
Yes. Okay. So I want to make sure your viewers are viewing on your Facebook and everything like that. So the LinkedIn
Absolutely.
app, the LinkedIn link, and the LinkedIn and the link for the YouTube is live right now as we speak. But welcome
Perfect.
to the Motivators Table podcast. We appreciate you. We're excited for this session right here, and we want to hear all about what you got going on in the community. So right now, do us a favor and tell our viewers, the new ones, the old ones, and everybody else, and they can comment and they can chat and they can drop it because I will tag it. Tell us who you are and where you from.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for having us here. It's truly
Yeah.
an honor. My name is Sarah Ciotti. I'm the founder and creator of the Living Lab Inc. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit where we really work with children who have been through trauma, whether, and trauma, it's a big word. So there's a lot of things that can fit under that umbrella. But from my personal experience and from, the way that I grew up and my husband, we're both from Philadelphia. And, we lost him a few years ago, 4 years ago, and he was a fully disabled Marine veteran. And for me, what really pushed us into this mission was really seeing how the infrastructures and systems of our communities were really afraid of some of the experiences that he had been through. And so for me, I really went into my prayer closet. I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And I just said, there's no way we're going out like this. There has got to be another way. We have got to figure this out. We have some of the most incredible minds of our time right now, really, coming together and working together. And if there was ever a more crucial moment for us to say, look, emotional wellness, it's important, right? If two children grow up in the same home and have two different experiences, their lives are not going to be the same. And we have to start looking at, how we kind of have this one layer of success, this model that's laid out. But yet, if we're all not preparing the same way, how can we even compete? And so for us, that's really been the catalyst of working with children who have, come from underserved, underprivileged communities. And we say, look, no one's family is perfect. But if we come together and we work together and we unify, we can find new ways that help us self-sustain and truly reflect the best version of ourselves into our day-to-day life.
I love that, and I love the way you put that. And motivators, get your highlighters and pens ready. I told you this is going to be a good episode. But right now, we're going to dig deep. This is where the motivators go get motivated, right? Where the healers go get healed. And you just heard her. She's a healer. She do her prayers. She do her affirmations. She do everything. So she tapped in. She put up her seat at the motivators table. So let's figure this out. Let's dig deep. Let's figure who Sarah is. Like, tell everybody who Sarah is at her core as a child growing up.
Wow. Sarah, at her core as a child, I truly believed and I knew in my heart that there was more to life. Yet I kept continuously running into situations. After a while, I realized myself that I was creating them and reflecting them. And that's another story. But for me, it was just, if I had to sum up my childhood, it would be, I felt a larger portion of it after, losing the significant people in my life was disappointment. And so for me, I really had to tackle disappointment as one of my primary responses to life, right? And to look at, I had to begin to understand that I could live a future in a way that didn't always have to feel the same, even though broken Sarah may have been stuck in that place for quite some time.
Mm.
Because I remember crying. And I'll never forget this. I would cry every night in bed and say to God, why did I have to have this life? Why can't I have a different life? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you punishing me? And as I grew and developed my faith, and as I shared, I'm a disciple of Daisaku Ikeda, and I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with SGI USA. And through the practices of the Lotus Sutra and really doing my human revolution, I've been able to really go to that broken version of myself and look at her and just say, hey, I've got you. And our mission and our message to everyone here is that you are not your circumstances, and there's a way for everyone.
I love that, and I always talk about that inner child, and a lot of people skip over that. And I think as being a healer and a motivational speaker and a life coach and someone who touches the people, I can't get out here and do what I do if I don't channel my inner child and go fix what I've been through. And it sounds like that's what you have been doing, and that's how you are able to attract that good energy from these kids. And hearing your story, first of all, rest in peace to your husband. I'm a veteran too, so that fight,
Thank
that struggle, that mental health, all that stuff that we go through, that people don't understand, that it's real. And we come from an age and era where it wasn't easy to talk about, especially as men, and especially as minority men and men of color and men that come from these cities that where we was recruited from. If we talked about it, or if we spoke about it, or we even signaled, we will be shamed upon. So rest in peace to your husband for the fight that he fought, and we will continue to do the great battle for him to make sure his name lives on. And thank you as a great spouse and a great wife who, I told you, motivators, this story is personal. Like, a lot of people don't hear that spouse story. They don't hear that, what I'm saying, how strong you were to get yourself back together, then to be a wife to this strong veteran. So let's talk about how you were as a young woman growing up in high school and how you developed your characteristics.
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say, don't try this at home, kids. Okay? Because my story is not like everyone else's story. Just to get a little bit more specific, we were raised in a Roman Catholic household, and my father was from Egypt, and my family is Irish, Polish, and Italian, and Egyptian. And so we grew up in a Roman Catholic household. My grandparents were the absolute rock and glue of our foundation. And when I was 12 years old, they got into a horrific car accident. And it changed all of our lives forever. And, my mom at the time had 4 kids by herself. My dad and her had separated when I was about, I think, 2 or 3 years old. And so trying to navigate now, growing up as an Egyptian American, first generation, my dad's family's Muslim, my mom's family's Catholic. And as we navigate these different things, in the midst of all this, I end up becoming homeless by the time I'm like 13 years old, right? The infrastructure of our family really fell apart when my grandmom and grandpop weren't here to really navigate the ship anymore. And, everyone in my family did their best. And I'm so grateful for my family. I'm so, my sister has been supporting me, probably since I came out of my mother's womb. And my brothers, just we come, and most importantly, my daughter and my son, and my aunts. We've been very fortunate that even though we've had adversity, that I've always had people who kind of always stepped in. And as a young teenager, as I said, I had a full-time job between the age of 13 and 14. I worked at a pizzeria. After the passing of my grandmom, I realized that, I had to kind of take control of finances for me to be okay. And so I got a job, and I literally ended up going to truancy court as a result of getting a job. And literally, I didn't know what else to do. I had to work, right? My mom was doing her best, and my youngest brother was really sick, and we had a lot of stuff that we were battling. And throughout this, I represented myself in truancy court, and I was very honest with the judge. And I said, Your Honor, I have to work. My dad's not here. My grandfather is no longer coherent. My grandmother passed away. My mom's doing her best. I have to go to night school. I have to work during the day, and I have to keep going. And the judge literally approved it and said, "Great job. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't give up." And I was very fortunate at that time to be working at a pizza shop called Valentino's, New Valentino's at the time in Northeast Philadelphia. And I went to Little Flower High School for some time. And then I also went to Frankfurt before I transitioned into an evening program down in Center City. And I worked for the McGinnis family for quite some time. And so, I worked very, very, very hard, but I didn't realize how much of my life was in survival at that age. Like I remember when I went to get my first bank account, I was 16 and I walked into the, place and they were like, and I was like, "I need to open a bank account." And they were like, "What are you going to open a bank account with? Your babysitting money, honey?" And I was just, it was just like a capacity that a lot of other people didn't understand, and a strength that a lot of people didn't understand. And so I started running companies at a really young age. My dad owned restaurants, but I didn't work for him till a little later. But I worked really hard, and I had a lot of people who invested in me and believed in me, from Alex to Gary McInnis and his wife and family. And, I did go to college, and I didn't finish college, but I did go to school for business administration. And at that time, I had gotten pregnant with my daughter at the age of 23. And from that stance and that space is when I said, okay, I've got to do something here, right? Like, this isn't just about me anymore. I can't just be out here, playing Russian roulette with my life. I've got to really take it serious and find a way to become happy and create value, and not just become, someone who becomes a reflection of their circumstances.
Right. And I love that, because that's how, a lot of people, they judge a book by its cover, and you would see yourself from the other side of the screen and think that, oh, she got it well put together. But hearing
Mm.
your story, motivators, I told you, like, we here and we don't hold nothing back. We're going to tell you exactly how to get in front of your ugly and what we had to go through. So right now, walk us upon right now. We want to talk about your amazing organization and what you got going on.
Yeah, so we are so excited to share, that we have the Living Lab Inc. And so with the Living Lab, what it is we have 4 corners of self-sustaining healing. So for me, I will never forget when Elon Musk said that it would be easier to get a plane or get people onto Mars than it would be to change the public school system. And that really stuck with me. And so when I began my Buddhist practice at 28, and I really was chanting to my mentor to see what my mission was while I was here, immediately that's what came to my life. And so I said, okay, well, we have this problem where at least 1/3 of every community has the same struggles, right? It's underserved, it's underprivileged. We have families who don't have 2 healthy, happy parents in the home. We have many families who don't even have 1 full-time income, let alone 2, right? So how are we comparing where we are to where we need to be when we're not all starting with the same resources? And so for me, I really prayed about it. And like I said, a lot of people are aware of what's happening, but I don't think a lot of people know what to do. And so through my prayer, I've been able to clearly see a way that we could use our SIDS reports, our Atlas reports, break down our geographic locations, and put together 4 self-sustaining corners of healing in each community center to help each of these groups come back to a fair stabilization and then begin to just deal with day-to-day problems, right? Because we have to get them to a space to where school can become their priority. And we still have communities where children are more worried about other things like survival, right, than school.
Right. Right now, I talk at a lot of schools all over the world, and it's the same message. A lot of kids are not even concerned with education right now, let alone staying there. And I remember as growing up, we couldn't wait to go to school every day. And now the
Mm.
kids, they can't wait to not to go to school. It's a different timing, and I don't know if it's the environment. I don't know if it's the teachers. I don't even know if it's just a generational level. Some of the kids that I speak to and talk to on a daily day basis, they don't even prioritize education. So
Mm,
walk us upon how the Living Lab is incorporating a situation into the school system.
for sure. So we created this infrastructure with the sole intention of addressing this problem, right? This is a culture problem. This is a lack of hope. And when we were first asked actually by the YMCA to create the program, shout out to Seth and Brad, go guys. Um, we were asked to be able to put something together that didn't have any religious connection, that wouldn't isolate anybody, wouldn't keep anybody out, would invite everyone to the table to utilize the program in a way that really did preventative care. And so we did. We worked really, really hard on it to develop it and pilot it and lay through a sequence of how we could use even before care, after care, during time, Saturdays. And we could do it in a way to where each child is naturally able to self-sustain what they're missing and align their needs, because we have so many incredible programs running already, right? That are funded, that have these resources, that can make these things happen. So we're not here to reinvent the wheel, like we're here in addition to, not replacement of. And that's the most important thing that I want to stress. We need these schools, we need the principals, we need the nurses, we need everything. But what we do, we kind of have to do it a little bit differently. And I know many people may say, oh, that's easy for you to say, you're not the person in the classrooms. And listen, I am not here to put down anybody. I commend the teachers, the principals, our police, everybody, right? It's just, we're at a pivotal moment to where, hey, we may have a few new steps that we can integrate, make this work differently, take some of the responsibility of emotional care back from the teacher, right? Because the teacher's becoming everything. No wonder why they can't maintain, their roles, especially for the salaries. And I know that things, everything costs money. Everything needs to have a budget. We're not in fairy tale land. But I know just in Clearwater with our mayor here, he's incredible and he's ready to rock from the floor down. I think we really have some people at this stage in our time to where they're ready to make the difference. And I think that that's what really makes all of this so special.
Right, and it takes a very passionate person like yourself to in your company and your 501c to put yourself on the line like that, because we need this. And if teachers are listening, or directors, or people that are above or over the education system, tap into her, understand, like, hey, we understand that it's a system that education must run through. We also have these special programs that want to help. We don't want to take anything away. We want to add to the value of education and help with that and talk about that with these kids, because the kids, regardless of it, we lived our life. The kids are the future. You know what I'm saying? And we got to make sure they understand how to articulate and tell our history when we are dead and gone. They want to
Mm.
make sure that they know that they were comfortable going into these establishments, learning this type of education and giving it back, each one teach one. And I see that's what you're doing in your community and everything like that. I know you have a lot of big plans coming up and a lot of big things. So let us know about like the origin of how the Living Lab was started, and then let's move forward.
Sure. So the Living Lab, well, and I just want to just really connect a little bit on what you just said too. Like it's so important, right, where we are right now, because we are all preparing. I'm 41 years old, and if I'm fortunate enough to have another 40 years of health on this earth with my kids, what can I personally do in that time to help bring solutions to these problems? Because we're leaving these children to deal with everything that's happening on the forefront right now. We're handing them this world, right? And my primary mission and our mission here is to make sure that while we're handing them, this level of life, let's also make sure that we're handling them this level of security, training, tools, awareness, especially about who they truly are. And so with that being said, our mission for this year, we've realized that, we were very fortunate to be at the Greater Ridgecrest YMCA for quite some time. we've been extremely fortunate to work, alongside JWB, the city of Largo, the city of Clearwater, Evera Health. We've had so many wonderful organizations really stand with us, especially in the beginning stages of where we are. And as we begin this next chapter, we're also working with quite a few wonderful people across the Bay. So we're excited to be doing an email announcement next week with some of our, concrete plans finalized. But right now I'm actually filming today in our new place. It's called Studio 131. And it used to be a community center, and it now does events, special events, weddings. They really customize the care for all of their clients' needs. And we are partnering with their owner, Karen, and her family on sharing the space to make sure that we can really offer our program in the way that it's needed. Our primary focus is the Department of Children and Families. We've been working very closely with them. We're really excited to go, with Tampa Bay Community Foundation and, most importantly, all the Hillsborough, Children's Board. So we have wonderful people really coming up and saying, hey, we see you, we need this. We've also been in touch with the city of Philadelphia's government, and we're just really, really grateful for everyone opening their hearts, opening their ears, and just taking the time to have the dialogue.
And that's all it takes, and I hear you talk a lot about the community and the city, and I love that you have the city of Clearwater behind you, helping you with these projects, because that's what we need. Sometimes we fight against each other and fight amongst ourselves when we are trying to do the same thing, but different ways of how to do it, right? And I commend you because I see you in the community. I met you in the community. I see what you got going on. You are a frontline soldier out there trying to advocate for your program and for these kids, and put your best information out there. And thank you to all, like the new center that you at right now. Thank you for them opening up that center, because we need that little events like that to bring awareness to our community. So what's the next few events that you got coming up?
Well, the most important thing we're working through right now is making sure that we are completely compliant with operations, right? So that's step one. We do have a spring break event that we're going to be doing as our soft open, and we're really excited about that. It will be the weekend of March 14th. That will be coming out in a newsletter in probably the next 7 to 10 days. And then we'll be opening our programs at a different capacity now, to where, because we have the space and we have the support and we have the ability to run the lab at the full capacity it needs to be operated, we can now support more than our pre-existing capacity limits. In our buildings prior to this, we only had the ability to serve up to 15 youth per week. And to a lot of people that may say great, or sound great for a group session. But for us, we have quite an extensive waiting list, and we're just privileged and honored to, be in demand, be at capacity, to be able to serve in the seat, on the ground, through our families, because truly this is not an easy place to be right now, which I can all think we, can all agree on that.
Right. Man, I just love I'm listening to the conversation, and we talk all the time, and you text me, and we talk about the plans and stuff, and just to hear it motivators. I told you, I warned you guys. I said, hey, listen, when I tune into this episode, season 5, that you're going to make sure that you're going to get a lot of connections that are operating in the dark. It's a lot of these warriors and motivators that I know that's operating and pushing these things to the light now, and that's good. And I wanted to take my time and spotlight you in your organization and what you're doing, because it takes a lot of hard work to do what you're doing, and we appreciate you, and especially the things that you've been through with your family and your life and stuff like that, and you still show up every day for yourself, and you show up every day for these kids in your organization. So I really appreciate it. It's one thing though I want to hit on, how do you keep yourself so driven and so motivated?
You know what? That's a really good question. I think, apart from insanity, no, I'm just kidding. It's, for me, it's just, I think with losing my husband, especially the way that we did, it just really sets in how real death is, right? And that we get to do these things. We don't have to do these things. And, and the most important thing to me, I have a great partner. A special thank you again to Dr. Ricky Lockett and his family. And but most importantly to my faith, the SGI USA, the Gohonzon, my mentor, Daisaku Ikeda. I mean, I chant a lot. The most important thing for me is staying in rhythm with, my faith, the organization, always putting faith first, keeping prayer at the very beginning of my day, the last part of my day, because it's very easy for us to get stuck between the aspects of like the I in us and then like the ego in us, right? So for me, it's really important that when I'm making these decisions, especially when we move locations or have financial hardships or it's impacting other families and people are bringing families to my door, literally. And I have to make decisions from a place that's much different. And it can't be just about the self-sustainment of a particular individual. It has to be about the self-sustainment of the overall good of, all 3 points, which is the community, the organization, and the people, right? Which all 3 are such crucial aspects. And if one area or one decision doesn't equally benefit all 3, then it doesn't work well for us. And so that's really kind of our mantra, is that it has to be impact first, because in this world today, I think most of us can really understand is money is not the key to happiness, right? Money makes life a lot easier. It definitely gives us our time. But in my life, and me and my daughter were talking about this the other day, that we value time more than we necessarily, value money. Because what we can do in 3 hours or 16 hours or 2 weeks, right? It's the most important thing to us is being sure that we get to make the impact in our time and our days in the manner and in the way that we want to. And just seeing where we are and seeing how divided so many people are, it's just really important for us as a people that, look, we have to come back to self. We got to check where we are. We got to take care of ourselves. We've got to nurture ourselves. And we really have to kind of take a closer look. Like, it's not what we do that matters, but how we do it, right? How are we living? What are the conditions of it? How can we ensure that each aspect of our day is creating value and it's not being manifested by fear? Right? Because that was my biggest breakthrough recently, especially with my practice, was realizing that certain aspects of this mission I was creating out of fear for my inner child. Now, like, you were kind of, sharing about yours as well.
Yeah. And we share all the time. And a lot of people, they look at us and think that we got it all put together, but not knowing that we're struggling just like them. But I'm just able to be the statue so people can see that, hey, it's a beacon of light. You can come out of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Take your time. And I tell people all the time, like, my time is different from yours. And, I struggled since I was a little boy, trying to figure out who I was, my identity, while trying to become a man in this world and a man of color. And it was hard. But to make it to where I'm at now, coming out of all that situation and grinding and putting my best foot forward and betting, that's why I tell you, motivators, bet on yourself first. You cannot pour into anybody's cup if their cups have holes in it, and if you ain't poured into yourself. And I tell you that all the time. And I want to share that with your community and let them know that in order for you to even put this awesome program together and be a part of it and helping, you had to take care of your inner child first. You had to tack that first. You couldn't go out because I guarantee you go out there and you try them kids, they pick it up, their energy. They'll pick it up. She's not ready. She's not ready. And that's why they don't listen, because a lot of people that are teaching are getting in front of them. They're not even taking that information and applying it to themselves, right? And we got to get back to that, because in church we would call it hypocrite. If you're telling that information, make sure you're also receiving that yourself, and you're definitely doing that. You can tell it right now about how you prepared for this podcast and what you did and who you are, and even that being at the center right now. That's amazing. You know what I'm saying? So give yourself credit for what you're doing right now in the community. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And, working with someone such as yourself has really motivated me a lot. And I appreciate your friendship and everything that you're doing, because, the most important thing, and, my mentor was always so specific with his guidance and how he always said, those who suffer the most become the happiest.
Mm.
Right? So even for you, like, you had to know at least by now that you have a mission to work with large groups of youth, right?
Yes.
And you impact them. They listen to you, that you touch their heart. You work with them like almost effortlessly.
Yes.
But would they have taken you serious if you didn't have the life you had?
Right. Right. And it's crazy because I think that we have to be able to get these people in front of the crowds that need them, that relate to them, right? And I see a lot of people that are getting in front of these crowds, and that's whatever you're doing. If it's church, if it's school, if it's anywhere, get the right people, because that's how you get the right listeners, right? And we got these rappers that are talking about things that they never been through, but they're promoting things that they saw. How about get the people that been through these situations, that can get in front of and progressing, and tell them that, hey, you can look like me and Sarah, but also you can be where we at too if you put in the hard work. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. That's all it takes is hard work. I didn't believe in myself for a long time. Even when I got out the military, like people, when they log on to my podcast and they see my wall, I'm like, is that you? I'm like, yeah, that's my office. But I didn't believe I deserved any of that. My father was the one that spoke life back to me again and said, hey, take this stuff out the garage and put it up. Let the world see where you came from and who you are and what you're progressing. And once I started to believe back into myself, my community grew more. My relevancy grew more, and understanding of who I am. And that's what you're doing right now. The Living Lab. I love that brand name, the Living Lab. Speak on
Thank
how
you.
y'all came about that.
Well, honestly, I know this is going to sound kind of corny, but it came to me during prayer. I was doing morning gongyo, and that we recite 2 excerpts of the Lotus Sutra, and when we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo in front of our Gohonzon. And during that time, I was really chanting for the wisdom. I said, if this is my mission, you see something that I can't see, show me what you see. And all I saw was the Living Lab. And I was like, okay, that's how I saw my son's name as well, and Nico. And so for me, it's really about the connection from within. It's about understanding that everything we need is inside of us. And, in our faith, the most important part is doing your human revolution, right? So it doesn't mean that negative things aren't going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're going to not go through tough times. Like, you're going to have obstacles. According to my mentor, you're going to have new obstacles every year, right? And if you have the same problems after 1 year, then you should get guidance.
I like that.
Right?
Say that again.
Yeah, so think about that. We shouldn't be worried if we have problems. We should be worried if they're the same exact problems as last year.
Right. Fixing that.
Yes.
And that's what's wrong with the world right now. Like, we talk about the same stuff every year instead of fixing it and seeing that, hey, you know what? If that didn't work, try something else to fix that situation. You know what I'm saying? Because we never was made to be stagnant as human beings. We never was made that, because once we stop living, we die, right? And I know that's cliche, but once we stop moving and talking and innovating and being around situations that tries us, that breaks us, and has us come back from that and create a different version of ourselves, then we stop living. We do. And I tell motivators all the time, like I said, people think like, oh, JayR, like that's in you. I said, yes, my dad, yes, he put that inside of me. But at the end of the day, I have to create a new version of myself every day. Because if you talk about you knew me last week, you don't know me this week, because I'm continuing to learn. I'm like an algorithm. I'm like a download, a down. Like, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And that's exactly, every time I talk to you, I hear you and I'm like, wow, I'm just inspired. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder, when you talking to these kids, do you teach them all the things that you know?
Well, I try and be careful because, I'm really passionate about my faith, as you can see. I'm everything I am because of the Soka Gakkai. And I really look at it as making sure with our vision and mission that it's clear, concise, and transparent, right? So that's why we went to 4 corners of healing. We went to, a child can come in and they can be having an anxiety attack, and they take a few question quiz, and it gives them a way to use the quiz that may be different, or the framework that may be different for the child behind them. And so they go into the space, they utilize each of the corners, and in each corner, there's a self-sustaining DIY activity. and it helps to bring them back to core based upon what their active emotion is currently.
I love that. So, talk to me about some of the curriculum that you guys do at the Living Lab, just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about understanding, who you are, how to really, because I think a lot, I can't say every child's experience is the same, right? But I know for just a portion of my life, like I was just like running and running and running with no real understanding of who I was, what the best parts of me were, what the worst parts of me were, what I could do at my best if I really took care of myself. Like the self-awareness wasn't there. Growing up in with the circumstances that I did, it was just, I realized very quickly, I'm like, I have to really redevelop and make sure that I'm consistently okay and I'm consistently doing what I need to do before I can expect children to do it, right? And so I use the framework from all of the pilots we work through, and we do it to where they begin to have that self-awareness and they begin to understand that their circumstances, their mom and dad or whoever they're living with, their family, right? Their family can be going through a hard time. They can bring love and peace to that environment and still go on to fulfill their dreams by, integrating a few new tools and having, a different opportunity at school and a different way to really make sure that we're all prepared with the same resources, we're all lined up from the same position, and we're all prepared for the next steps.
I love that. And how did you come up with these like curriculums? Did you and your team put together these curriculums, or you just had like a um, just something in your mind, in your head that you want to give back to these kids?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't intentionally created. It wasn't until I started working with our original board members under TSI when we started at the Ridgecrest YMCA a few years ago. And that was 2020 already. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's been quite some time. And we really started with going out as a marketing company because marketing is kind of my strong suit. And I remember coming back to my business partner at the time, and his name is Matt. And I would say, Matt, I don't think marketing is what these people need. And, we're going to business owners and we're going back and forth. And then that's when I just really started to pray. And I just really went to my mentor and I said, I need to, what's my mission? What am I supposed to be doing? Everybody has something on this earth that they do exceptionally well. And for whatever reason in my life, I always want to help people, even if it's at the expense of me and my family, which is why I said, this for me was like, if I'm going to work at ensuring we bring an impact at this capacity, it has to be done in, number one, the best way possible, right? It has to be self-sustaining. It has to have to where each child is not creating codependence. They're creating to where they do it themselves. They work through it themselves. And they don't have to have these years and years of discomfort and disalignment, regardless of what's happening in different aspects of their home and life, right? And then we work with the schools directly, and we work with their parents and their therapists, and we make sure they're given 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day plans to really redevelop whatever that primary struggle may be in the moment.
I like that. I like the way y'all put that together, and how many kids you have in your program right now?
Well, because of capacity issues at the previous location, we're only allowed to see 15 children per week.
Okay.
But we do have 50 active families and about a waiting list of 140.
I love that. So I mean, and when you say just that, no matter what, if you see one kid a week, you're touching one life. But you talking about touching 15 and 20 kids a week, and 100 some families on a waiting list. Like, hey, you guys need, I don't know what you're doing. You need to get on this waiting list to get some more information. This is an awesome program that she's putting out, and it's a 501c. So it's like all you have to do is contact Sarah and get in front of her and let her know that you want your child to be a part of this program. Where can we find you at right now?
Well, and that's the most important thing. So our website is thelivinglabinc.com. And the most important thing for us right now is we're working with DCF and
Okay.
our incredible friends in Tampa Bay to make sure that we can really, really ensure, stabilize, and keep this at a nominal or free, cost for the parents.
Okay.
Because we truly believe that, because our current students are on scholarship, full scholarship. And because it's my belief that these are programs that really should be integrated through the system.
I love that.
These are necessities.
Yes, definitely, and it's definitely a necessity for the community and for our kids and our children. You know what I'm saying? And I wish I had something like that growing up. I remember the YMCA back in the day, and it was a free center, and everybody used to go get lunches at the summertime and stuff like that. So this is what it's reminded, like it's giving me like a little remnants of what that is, plus a little bit of education. Because I speak at a lot of kids programs, and I think
Mm.
I know this is a top-notch program that need to be discovered by the community. And if you live in Clearwater and Tampa, you need to tap in with Miss Sarah right now. Sarah, we want you to take the time real quick and go in your bag and some new viewers, new followers, new motivators that are listening right now. I want you to motivate them real quick.
Well, absolutely. The most important thing I want to say to each of you is that I want you to remember the only person you're in competition with is the person you were yesterday. Inside of each of you is a crown and a fool, right? So what do I mean by that? I mean that there's a king or queen in you, and then there's also a fool. So I know we can all relate to the days where we feel like everything's going great. We're in rhythm, life is good, we can do this is it. And then we have those cycles to where we say things that can hurt people's feelings, even when we don't mean to, right? It's harder to get out of bed. It's harder to be motivated. Maybe something changed in our life and that's making us feel disconnected, right? So we want you to learn how to identify the difference between those two parts of yourself and then work together to bring solutions so that you can find the rhythm that works for you in your 24 hours. Being comfortable in your skin, eating healthy, taking care of yourself, using love, and remembering that the only people's opinion that matters to you and for you, or should be to you, should be the people who love you. Truly, the people who love you. When you're sick, who do you call? Who has your back? When you're out of money, who's going to answer that phone and who's not?
Right. I love that. And motivators, I told you, she's dropping dimes. Pick them up right now. She's letting you know already that like this is not something that she's getting paid to do. She believes it. She's a motivator herself. She's a healer. She loves the kids. Keep going. My bad. I'm sorry.
No, I love it's so nice to have another adult around.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's not, people think about sometimes my podcasts are scripted. It's not, it's just an honest conversation. I just want to I want my fans to get to know somebody who I'm inspired by. So I only bring people, they already know, I only bring people on my show that I'm inspired by. And I don't just bring people like I don't bring the popular people that, no, I'm going to get people that I am inspired by that do the shadow works in the dark that want to help people grow. And we appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I want you to tell my viewers how they can find you on social media.
Sure. So my primary social media is Sarah Z, the letter Z, Coudi, which is spelled Seoudi. And that we're also the Living Lab Inc. Presents Mindful Methods.
Okay.
And you find either one of those, you'll find me.
Okay. And let us know what you got coming in the near future.
Yeah. So the most important thing we have is a lab that's running year round to where we don't have to move anymore. We can have stabilization, security, stay in one place, have consistent, availability for children who are going through hard times or families who need support to come in and really utilize the program in a way that we weren't able to in the past. And I just want to thank all of the existing families who have dealt with skipping Saturday sessions, who have dealt with the moves, who have dealt with not having, the consistent schedule that they're used to, because they really understand and have our back and believe in what we're doing. And I couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you so, so much, truly.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And Sarah, what I want you to do, what I do for all my viewers is we're going to Peter Pan and hold your cup up, an empty cup.
Okay.
No, an empty cup. No, just your hand.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. That's a cup. Pour it out. Pour whatever is in that cup out. and hold it back up. Now your cup is empty. Now I want to pour into you. You're special. We appreciate you and thank you for doing what you're doing. It takes a special person like you to get in these communities and love on yourself first and then pour back into these children. The children of the future. I know that's cliche, but all the song. Listen, what you're doing, don't overlook it. Don't never wake up and be like, no, listen, somebody is watching. And if you touch one, impact one child, that's all that matters. Keep going. Tell you and your staff, don't stop. We're here at the Motivators Table. We're proud of you. And that's why we bring the motivators on here to say, you know what? When you leave here, you can run through a brick wall. You make sure you saw me speak live. You already know what type of impact I bring for these kids. And
I
everybody
do.
asked me, like, what is your niche, JayR? I said, the world is my niche. I'm
Mm,
not picking a category or a subject. I'm going to get out there because I've been involved with everything. And I'm not going to talk about anything that I've never been involved with. But here at the Motivators Table, we appreciate you. We love you. Keep going. When it gets dark, and if you have nobody to talk to, you can pick up the phone. You can call me, and I text you back. I know sometimes it takes me a while, but I text you back, and I will make sure I help you get back on the right track. We proud of you, and we appreciate you, and thank you for coming on the Motivators Table Season 5. And right now, world, I told you, tap into the Motivators Table. We're going to bring people on here that you never heard of, but you're going to want to continue to follow because they're doing things when the lights go off. And I tell people all the time, I said, I'm not the strongest, fastest, or smartest, the best looking, the tallest. I just stayed the longest. So we here now. So I appreciate you, Motivator Table. And thank you, Sarah, for coming on my channel. Do you want to leave us with any last words?
I want you to remember the last words I have is that as dark as your thoughts can be, I want you to remember that the opposite's also there. So have the courage to look on the other side, and you'll be surprised with what you can do. You've got this.
Boom. You got this. Season 5.